Welcome back again. Today we discuss subsequent events reporting and discovery of facts existing as of the day of the auditor's report as presented in chapters 13 and 14. A subsequent event is a transaction that may have impact on the financial statement and occurs after the balance sheet date, but before the financial statement is issued. There are two types of such events. Those conditions that existed at the date of the balance sheet, and two, conditions that did not exist at the date of the balance sheet. For the first type, the auditor makes an adjusting entry to adjust the financial statement. The text gives two examples of this type. To examine, we'll look at those in class. For the second type, the auditor should disclose the transaction in the notes to the financial statement. 5 examples are presented here to illustrate that. The book repeats this information in a timeline diagram on page 103. This diagram should help you visualize the sequence of discovery and reporting that should take place. 2 time periods are listed for each of the 2 types of subsequent events, making 4 possible outcomes. The table below the chart presents the auditor's responsibility for each of these 4 categories of subsequent events. You should use this information to answer the discussion questions assigned in the chapter. When an event is discovered after the end of fieldwork, but before the audit report is issued, the auditor has 2 options for dating the audit report. The first is to use the date of the event as the date of the audit report. The second is to dual date the report by disclosing the event as a separate footnote with a date different from the overall report. This second method assumes less responsibility on the part of the auditor. Using the first method requires that the auditor take responsibility for other significant subsequent events, and therefore the auditor should perform procedures to identify the presence or lack of such additional events. The procedure for discovery or procedures for discovery are listed on page 104. We will discuss all 5 in class. The entire list of 12 procedures for search are listed on the following page. These go back to earlier chapters dealing with other types of transactions and gives a complete picture of the necessary search questions needed to answer before issuing the audit report. Chapter 14 deals with the discovery of facts existing at the date of the auditor's report. So these are following the first set even later. After the CPA issues the auditor's report, he may discover information that was already existing as of that date. When this happens, there is a list of 10 steps to take to satisfy the auditor's responsibility in this matter. Item number 1 gives several examples of such possible events and what to look for. Item 2 is to determine the information, if the information about such events is reliable and that it existed at the date of the audit report. Item 3 is to determine if the information would have affected the report had it been known. Item 4 is to assess whether persons are still relying on the report. Item 5, if we've said yes to items 2, 3, and 4 above, then we should advise the client to make appropriate disclosure. Item 6, if the client refuses to make the disclosure, we take the following steps. Item 7, notify each member of the board of the refusal to disclose. Item 8, notify the client that the audit report is nullified and should not be issued or relied upon. Number 9, notify the Securities and Exchange Commission and other regulatory agencies of the failure to disclose. Item number 10, notify known users of the financial statements and tell them to not rely on those statements. So these are fairly drastic in the event number 6 that the client refuses to disclose. We conclude the chapter with a number of examples of these types of events and a list of 4 things to do in each event needed. So this comprises our discussion of events that are subsequent or are described as subsequent, meaning they followed important stages in the audit process and were discovered late. Hope you find this interesting and entertaining as I did. And next week we will take up the final 2 chapters and conclude part 2 of our 3-part course on auditing procedures in preparation for taking the CPA exam and beginning your practice of accounting and perhaps auditing as well. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you in class today. Bye-bye.